one type of top performers, the top three, are looking to repeat things, but they will have to adapt to how these teams, such as Raxo, Artor, and Cammy, are closing out these games.
Yeah, and like I kind of alluded to earlier, these guys took plays in that last moving zone, and because Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson did not, it was secured for Cammy, Raxo, and Artor. They just continually pressured down from there on, and that was the victory royale.
Man, I mean, again, first game jitters. We'll see. We got to see for the data from game number 2. The question is, though, is there going to be a new day 2 trio that will pop up like this one that we just watched? Or will our first day trios show up? Well, let's find out as we jump back into game with our casters. Take it away.
So much, Zeke. I am Sancho West alongside Sundown, and it is a new day. Yes, it is. We are seeing some new trios who are trying to meet the performance of our day 1 trios. And hey, that number 2, sometimes a sequel, it can be better than the original. We all talk about movies here. Game 2 of 7 here in the grand finals, and we're going to see a finish here up in the Northwest region, which is going to really favor that Doom's Domain and, more importantly, that Sweaty Sands trio.
Yeah, what is going on just slightly west there of the ruins? There's like 3 different teams and 3 different triangles all fighting over kind of the one henchman chest that's guaranteed in that area, and a couple others. So a couple scavenger routes that are directly on top of each other. We're going to hop on board here with somebody else executing on one of those scavenger routes. This was our match number 6 winner as we turn over to now the official backside. We're on the back half of the games here. Matches 7 through 12. And right now, again, we talked about it at the start of the morning. It's who can catch Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson. And despite the fact that this trio was able to take away the victory, they were able to sneak up there into a 4th place with 3 eliminations. So still a 17-point game coming out of them there. As you can see a little bit on how the scavenger execution, maximizing back on board here to Clement, Nakos, and Floki.
We talked about this already, Sundown. This is one of those trios that were very deadly in heats. They kind of get up really quickly to get those elims. You mentioned 8 minutes or less and they get an elim. They average about 5 elims in their qualifiers and heats. They look really good. You picked them as well to walk away as the grand finals champion. And we've had some day 1 jitters, a little bit of stumbling blocks. And now they're just seeing this new opportunity. They took a break that is so important. Now we're at that official halftime point. Just to be able to change your playbook, just to change your trajectory. And like we mentioned, it's just a shift in just a little bit. You don't have to do anything too crazy. Just a simple shift could get you back up into the leaderboard standings.
And one thing to note, too, is they had just 2 really, really, really poor games where they weren't able to get in those placement thresholds. You can see on the right-hand side, each elimination being a point, but the placement starting to tick in once you're in the top 17. And for a trio like this in particular, they thrive on consistently getting placement points. They're not necessarily known for those absolutely massive over-the-top victory royales. They're more than capable of winning a game, but it's not typical for them to be getting those 15, 16, 17 eliminations, DRs back-to-back. They did it in heats, though. However, now we're going to swing over to a little bit of contention going on. It's the battle here at Doom's Domain, and yet again, as we saw during the qualifier 3 rounds, Benji and Co. controlling the vault and then utilizing the secret passageways back and forth to try and get positioning over here on the north side of the house. You can see the dual media group now trying to rotate back over here. However, all of the onus here is really going to be on Benji and Co. to take this one out.
And we're seeing this engagement could be so detrimental to run. Dual Media's trio is sitting in 30th place at the moment. And day 1, Benji, Mr. Savage, and let you kind of, I think they ran them out of Doom's Domain at the very beginning, very early on. It looks like Dual Media has stepped it up just a little bit, maybe trying to take advantage of Mr. Savage, Lechi's, and Benji's slow starts. If they could shake off that slow start, maybe Benji could kind of put a run together to contest with Mongo's trio, to contest with Andalix. But right now, so far, we're just seeing another slow start here, Sundown. Just a little bit. I mean, we maybe see the early signs of it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm tasting the air, and I could taste that slow start.
And the one thing to note is about the slow starts today, you think, yeah, well, we got 7 games today. That's one more than we normally get. Like, it's okay. There's time. As Birds out there gets picked up by Benji in a nice little 50-50, able to swap over there to the Epic AR. Lecce is also going to be able to get a pick up there on the side. Benji's going to find the other one, and Lecce doesn't get converted, so saving some key resources there as well, not having to go over and utilize the reboot. We'll have to find some additional white heals if they have the bandage cannon, so not going to lose too much, but I mean, we've talked about it. Everyone is playing catch-up to Tayson, Mitro, and Mongrel, and one slow game, they got 17 points last game, so all of a sudden, that difference at the top, specifically if you're Benji, Savage, and Lecce, you lost 12 points last game. You have to make that up some way, shape, or form, and if these guys don't go down, if we don't see kind of that classic patented Mongrel over-aggression, where he kind of overreaches a little bit in the early and the mid-game, and they keep getting their Storm Surge tags, I think, again, it's going to turn into a race for second.
I mean, the biggest fear as well is if somebody or some trio just decided to do 50-50s and try to drop into Starks. It happened before. They did lose their spot early in qualifiers when Jazzbase Trio, who is in the grand finals, mind you, kind of contested. They kind of started to lose it, but I think that woke up MMT. That woke up this trio to let them know, look, we're going to have to understand that someone will contest us at some point. And they just obliterated Jazzbase Trio in that next day in that tournament. So that is what we're kind of watching here. It's like, will it happen? Could it happen? We already seen OCE. The Lynx Trio slip from that first place, going all the way down to 7th place or so. It could happen, but so far, I don't taste it in the air. I only smell grand final champion here.
And that would be such a key kind of feather in these guys' caps. We talked about them being some of the strongest and best players in the world, and right now trying to put that on display, utilizing, again, we talked about this as well, the first shot accuracy from the Stark Industry Rifle and the high base damage of it, the fact that it still hits for 35 even at maximum range, and being able to convert on those 50 plus damage headshots, make it one of the strongest weapons, and particularly, I mean, everybody has seen the clip of Mongrel on the high ground with an infantry rifle. This is about the same. And you'll also notice too, they'll generally run in terms of the rifle choice. They'll have a burst rifle on Mitro, and then Tayson and Mongrel will pick up those Stark Industry rifles. That way, when you're spraying a wall, you have the fast first shot accuracy from the Stark rifles, and then the 2-shot burst coming through on the burst AR. It gives them a bunch of pressure to hit trios behind their builds.
We saw that stat of Indretta, Saphic, and Monk. Everybody else in the back of the pack trying to catch up in the coop. That's the kind of race that we're talking about. Can the turtle catch the hare? And this hare has the start. And they're not going to be lazy like that Story hare. They're not going to take a... Who's going to catch up to that Whiplash trio? I don't know who that's going to be.
Yeah, you can see those Mike 51s being so fast on rotation, but I will say the one thing that could end up potentially being a little bit of a stumbling block for the trio would be if they end up struggling with Storm Surge today. We've already seen in the first 2 games, that first Storm Surge has been massive in a completely uncontested drop spot. If they aren't able to kind of get enough tags to get over the top, that could force them into kind of...
Ah raga, ma ero mutato, scusate. Scusatemi.
Right, I think that if they've done enough so far, where they have the playmaking ability over the course of these 6 games, that they're going to have
Ero mutato.
as long as they don't have 1 or 2 absolutely ruinous games by Storm Surge, it should be good enough for them.
Allora, attenzione.
No problem. I drop 7. However, Stern 6 is going to be a little bit of a problem there. He gets caught in a separate box, and all of a sudden, the 2v2
Non finito.
Mark, you can see I drop trying to push forward. They're going to try and get a little bit of a slip up there from what is normally a very strong box-to-box trio.
That was like an extreme push.
Ok, questi
1, 2, 3. Go. Everybody just box dive in with the AR spray, getting right in side as a trio, and then what ended up happening is they ran into that edit, the triangle edit, and
Allora,
got caught, got hit right in the shins. You mentioned this on the EU side of things. You gotta wear your shin guards, man. You got a problem of not someone's gonna crack you, give you that slide tackle, and there's not gonna be a referee to come out of nowhere and give you a red card to kick you out. You're gonna have to do this on your own.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you'll get a warning there.
c'è uno squalo che sta morendo.
But retaliation not going to result in anybody else being sent off. You see, now have Wave rotating through the river, using that downstream current to try and get a little bit of speed, but iDrop being aware of that as well, getting good pressure onto him here, and sure looks like they're going to pick this fight 2v3. See Storm Surge is ticking on 20 players going to be impacted by that here in a minute and 45 seconds. iDrop trying to force his way into the box, but plenty of angles and pressure coming out from the other side. Super limited amount of materials here, down to only 7.
Praticamente in questi tornei è impossibile restare perché qui tutti camperano, quindi praticamente è impossibile restare un proprio amico. Attenzione. Ha fatto veramente una super kill.
It's not there. They're really doing this with green weapons and not having that firepower. Yes, you could be the most extreme trio that's going to fight hip to hip, but when you're not as strong as Monster would like to say, a 1.5 player that's walking around with an epic shotgun or a legendary shotgun, it's just going to be so difficult for you to close out these fights. It's a matter of stamina, and you don't have the necessary stamina considering that you're basically going into these engagements in shambles, and already iDrop 7 goes down.
Mi sa che muoiono.
On the green HP as Storm is going to overwatch them, and there it is. They get cleaned up, Sundown. And this is the same interesting that I was
Sto vedendo Genza.
the change in drop spot. This trio of Vediamo landed in Misty Meadows during their heats. Thomas H. landed in Dirty Docks. They made the switches, and they have yet to kind of find the right rotations out of those changes.
You can see all the action going down to everyone trying to get above the Storm Surge special, but most important to the leaderboard there, we saw Angela help.
Non so se c'è qualche italiano.
Really? Into a 1v3 situation unless they can stick a revive. We're going to hop on board here. Mako's coming in focusing on one Elam courtesy of Mako's vertical shockwave coming out, pops him up into the air. Not going to really find anything. Going to be able to utilize his hard mats, just kind of drop back down. You can see Elam feed lighting up, and the only thing that matters is we're not seeing Mitro, Mongo, and Tayson on the right side of that feed. In fact,
Se sono loro che laggano, sono io.
getting a knock right now. But Deal highly stroking under pressure here from our top 4 French trio of Nako's Floki Command.
And Vediamo is one of those trios that was so hot coming into the grand finals, and they just literally, just like a hot iron heading cold water, boom, just get cooled down instantly, just like that chug splash. No doubt must be feeling right now because it's so sweaty, the competition's going to get so stiff, and you're looking at here, things are going to get ratcheted up a notch, considering Sundown, we have a Coral Castle finish in our midst, in the distance, but let's just focus in on this trio fight right now. Floki Clement Makos, who've been heating up, had a great game previously. These are the fights that they've had lose, because we saw them day 1 where they had those bad dead. Game 2 and game 3.
Direi che sono loro che laggano.
Yes, it's a nice knock on the deal.
Yeah, Floki actually just put the deal in the blender there for a second, getting over to the side there. Kylie also going to end up dropping from a couple.
No, ok, sono io. Sono io che laggo. Sono una persona in live, scriva. Adesso ovviamente iniziano a scendere i numeri. Mi sta rifiutando palme con salsa. Perché mi rifiuta!
Make us looking for Network, making the way up the board.
Che è successo?
You're gonna have to shoot back and let
Oh.
the people know that
Perché mi rifiuti? Perché mi rifiuti?
Again, we've talked about it in the games where they don't drop. Literally by those complete and utter loose egg games. When you take those out of consideration, they have a really good time. But forget what I'm saying right now. As the matter of importance is in the bottom right-hand corner. You see that white circle. That's the fourth safe zone. There's only 3 trios currently inside of it. So everyone else is going to begin a mad dash to just pack in on the southern side of that
E
circle.
niente, mi rifiuta, va bene. Allora lo blocco, no? Faccio prima. Blocca. Ok. Oh, l'ho blocco. L'ho bloccato. È il casino adesso. Mongral, Mongral. Mongral, Mitro e il suo 011. Vabbè, quello là sono in high ground su tutti.
That engagement that took up the time is influencing them, it's hurting them on this rotation, Sundown.
And they're completely out there. Clement got picked up in the long
Ce ne sono morti 53. Mitro ne ha ucciso un altro. Loro teoricamente hanno Iron Man. Mi ha accettato l'amicizia. Team still in the lobby, but they're going to have to talk at some point. The clock is against everyone else. Also, without excuse, they're in a deal. However, luckily for everyone, kind of, the lobby is pulling. Little side note that we are going all the way over the water, so expect a ton of utilities to be burnt here.
It's all going to be aquatic, it's all going to be chaotic, it's all going to be dangerous, but at the end there's going to be someone that's going to have a victory out. They're going to be soaked, they're going to be tired from all the sweat and all the water, but it's going to be a big game. Somebody could easily kind of bolt their way up their leaderboard, but if Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson, yes, they didn't get the victory out, but Shio said it best. They kind of got a mini victory just by staying up, and look at it, they're at height. This is going to be big considering everything's going to be...
Ok, mi muto proprio un secondo, datemi 5 minuti, vado un attimo in bagno.
Single game, and it's going to have to be pried out of our eliminated bodies right now. As you can see, 3 eliminations, everyone still trying to pack on in, and again, placement points starting to get doled out. And as we keep an eye on the top of the leaderboard, every single placement point that Tayson, Mongrel, and Mitro get effectively nullifies the placement points everyone else is getting, because it doesn't matter if you get that point, they're getting it too. They'll continue to open up that lead, and unless somebody can knock them down off of this throne, it looks like it's going to continue to be a battle for second. As the 5th zone will close, we'll have our transition into the end game, and we're going to head over to the Shark, baby.
Yes, and now Cammy, that was a trio that was able to knock off Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson with a shockwave play. That is the EU thing to do. No doubt, Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson know how to kind of combat that. They know the defense, and they get a good spread, and there it is. They're going to beam all these people trying to go for it. They're already going to the tip of the nose of the shark. They're becoming the sharks of the region. We already have a rogue shark in NA East, the X-Set boys, and all that. But Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson are being the alpha predators, the apex of right now in this EU region. And that is proof in the pudding, considering they're sitting on top of the leaderboard, and they're looking pretty, and they're looking swaggish, because right now Tayson picked up a knock in the feet. And we already seen this. Double E limbs comes from height. The E limb natality is strong with this trio.
And you can see, have you ever just wanted a shark with a laser beam on top of his head? Well, this is the best you'll ever get. It's Mongrel up there with a legendary Stark infantry rifle, raining shots from above. We saw Savage go down in the feed. Lefty's going to pick up another Elim. Despite the fact that 17 players have dropped, not a single trio has gone down, so only one placement point doled out. And as I say that, they begin to tick over. Mongrel gets another elimination. 15 trios remaining, going to be forced over to the side. He's going to build back up. He needs to get over to the high ground and connect with this team, but they are doing a great job of executing this textbook high ground control, and it's going to be their match to close out. However, low on mats is Mongrel, but he says, don't matter, don't care. I got the AR I need in the Stark Industry Rifle, and he finds another elimination. We have our top 20 players, top 11 trios.
And it's going to go back over water again. And it all is up to Tayson, the in-game leader, to kind of lead Mongrel and Mitro to the prime positioning with getting a knock on ZQ, getting them those angles that they need to send those beams down. We've already labeled these as one of the strongest players in the region with beams. And look at this, it's going to go off a waterfall. So the more elevation is going to go down and down. This is going to be crazy. This is intense. Coral Castle. And now we're going to take a peek just for a brief moment at what is going down in the chaos down below. We have the ultimate box fighter teams, Wolfie, CRR, and Kenzel sitting in third place, trying to say, wait a minute, not so fast, Mongrel. We are going to contest you, and we are going to have a chance to win. But it's going to require a huge effort to dethrone the Kings on top, Sundown.
And we still need to see them go down. However, Janice on his feet, despite Andelix being up to the second place team, at least still getting up to fifth. That's what the top trios do the best in the game. They manage to find a way to eke out these placement points. We've talked about it, that Europe has kind of been the run of the Lone Ranger of the final moments. And if there isn't a trio hip to hip, then there's an opportunity for the clutches to come through. But right now, on the low ground, you have one of the most dangerous trios who is hip to hip, as Hen will go down there. Deceptos following in his feet right away will signal the end of that trio. But Wolfies is at the back of the storm. But at the end of the day, the story of EU, time and time again, E11 Tayson, the Chapter 2, Season 3 solo winner, Liquid Mitro and Mongrel on the high ground, running it out. It's a 3v2. They have 11 eliminations, and at this point, it is a battle for second. There is no way, unless there is a monumental ruin, that with the way this trio is playing so far, anybody will be able to catch them or repeat this performance. And this is why Mitro drops down. Tayson and Mongrel shooting fish in a literal barrel of the zone. 13 eliminations, 38 points.
You know they're feeling it when Tayson edit downs Mitro to be the ultimate Swanton bomb off the top rope, getting the big-time E-limbs and the victory royale. Sundown. Wow, man, we all question, will Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson have a successful hot start in day 2? And that right there, with the great consistency in that opening games, proves that they have a great chance of walking away to being that FNCS Trios champion.
55 points through the first 2 games. This trio is averaging now just over 25 points a game. That's a victory royale with nothing else. This run is nuts, but we're going to send it on over to Zeke, Shio, and Reese to show us how good it really is.
First game jitters, no. Thank you, Reese. Thank you. Number 1. Listen, first game jitters are gone. The trio cracks back I can't believe it. And these guys did a perfect job of calling this out for us, right? Tayson being your solos invitational FNCS champion from Chapter 2 Season 3. Coming in, you've got the veterans, the pioneers, Mongrel and Nitro. You slam them all together, and we may very well be looking at the next FNCS Trios champions. Let's take a look at these leaderboards. Look at this lead, gentlemen.
It is monstrous. 186 points to 122, and these guys have 3 victory royales.
That's incredible, actually.
Ecco, stiamo guardando la Cnfs. Raga, io mi muto e vi lascio sentire per 5 minuti. Vado.
Choice because Tayson is very calm, collected, very keeps his own head, and he can IGL these guys into victory. And throughout the start of the FNCS, there was a lot of memes on social media about Tayson, you know, struggling to keep these two on their leash. But it seems like at this point, he's wrapped it all up, and these guys are just playing incredibly consistently.
And we'll have much more to break down as to what they did in that last game. Pay attention to the 2nd and 3rd place, Kinzel and X-Squeeze's trio. These guys are now just 1 point beside each other. We'll see how their story kind of unfolds in these next few games and who gets to have that 2nd place slot. Over here from Styx all the way to 10th place, Benji, Savage, and Letchi finding some success with Elims in a few games, not making those end games completely. 85 points right now. Past that from 7th to 10th, it is just a 4-point game from Flores' trio all the way down to Teeks.
Yeah, very, very close between the 6th and 10th. And you know, they'll win that fight, but it'll drag out way too long, and the rotations just aren't good because of that. So I don't know what the next plan is for the next few games today, but hopefully they can kind of figure that out. But moving on to our next page, 11th down to 15th, kind of the similar names that we've seen over the last 2 days on this page.
Yeah, I was going to say that the top 15 is really kind of looking standard now. These guys have found their pacing. It's about improving even more now, taking every game as an individual moment, analyzing it, making the best decisions, and winning, just like we saw Nitro, Mongrel, and Tayson do in that last game. From 16th to 20th overall, we also have a few new names coming in and out, but at the same time, the same teams still on the page. We see Lanuf, Marion, and Jaspe on this page right now, 47 points, contesting that top team in first place. Hen, Deciptos, and Putrick finding some success here on day 2, but these guys will have to have great games to catch up to that top 5.
Guys, this last game felt like a superhero movie, right? We had the shot of the waterfall. We had players trying to go up and down, and then finally the heroes find themselves basking in the sun at the end, being victorious. I mean, we very well could be looking at our next FNCS champions, but there's more that kind of happened here in the game. So I'm going to kick it over to you guys. Walk us through what you guys are seeing.
Yeah, we'll have some big perspectives here earlier on in that end game from Mongrel and how these guys kind of learned from their last game, game number 1 of today, fixed their mistakes, and in game number 2, really played the zone very well to get that victory royale.
You can see they're already on height at this point, but they claimed that during the 50-50 zone because they got the zone right on them from 4. But these guys are good. They've already claimed a high ground position earlier on, so when they got that 5th zone, they could completely utilize that and keep height from there on out.
Yeah, in game 1, the mistake was kind of putting all the eggs in one basket, but not really knowing exactly where that basket stood. In this zone, there was water completely in the low ground. They were very comfortable on staying on height the whole time. Tayson here as well staying at the front. Mongrel staying in the back so he could keep tabs on any trios trying to shockwave up like we saw Artours do before. There's that water dive bomb play as Sancho called out. CRR, Kinzel, and Wolfies tried their best to play this water zone, but being on height is the best choice when you're in this type of zone, this aquatic kind of formation of what ends up happening for everyone on low. It's so hard to find your footing, and because of that, Nitro, Mongrel, and Tayson stayed high, stayed dry, and ended up winning that game with beautiful decision making.
And Mitro actually, if you saw there, edited down by Tayson, which didn't seem like an accident. You know, initially when you watched that back, it seemed like Mitro was going to make the aggressive play to go pick up those eliminations, but you know, even the top teams make a mistake at the end, accidentally editing Mitro down into the water, but because they were over that water, he was safe from fall damage, and they all managed to frag out and pick up that big victory royale.
Hey, look, you just gotta fake it till you make it, right? It's not a mistake if you don't call it out. It's a calculated risk, a calculated plan of attack. And when you're as far ahead as these guys, when you're as skilled as these guys, when you've been on the scene as long as these guys, they turn these L's into W's. That's just what they do. I want to see them continue with this momentum. Remember, we've got another 5 games on the day. Anything can happen, but will it? We have to kick it back over to our casters to continue the storylines, and we'll be back after this with more breakdowns. Take it away, boys.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Shio, and Reese. And here we are into the match number 8. And so far, it's been all Tayson, Mongo, and Mitro with nothing less than a 7th place finish over their first 7 matches. So incredibly well done. But already looking at the mini-map, for the first time in what feels like a long time, there's some other triangles at Stark Industries. So somebody has decided to pony up. Somebody has decided to rise to the challenge and be the David to their Goliath over at Stark Industries. We'll be keeping an eye on that elimination feed, but with the Southern Zone 2 right on the edge of that, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Hey, I don't know, man. I've been watching Ghostbusters getting me in the Halloween spirit. You guys released some awesome outfits. And that is a biblical proportion type feat. That is one giant marshmallow man to overcome there. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to bust the bubble of Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson. They are on an unbelievable ride. But one hero can get that job done as Kenzel Wolfies and CRR. They can make things interesting, and the reason why I say that is because they can pop off with elims as well, and they've been putting it all together. We're getting some placement points, Sundown.
And one thing to note in particular about the last game, being out of mats, and when you're in the water, you can't actually fire the bandage against anything. It will go all the way down to the bottom of the water. So despite being on 20 HP, he didn't have anything to kind of mark himself against, as we actually see up in the elimination feed, and Dretta picking up another early elimination there. But also, we saw Lecce end up going down as well. So another one of our power trios over at Doom's Domain struggling a little bit here off of the start. The Dual Media boys giving them everything they can handle so far here on day 2.
And I gotta know, as we seen that Snipe does pick up an elim on Benji, what happened? What went down there in Stark Industry? We gotta see in a moment notice. We'll get that replay up going.
Yeah, and that was Benji's full elim as well. Their trio is down. You keep an eye on that top left corner now, as we're going to see. It's an Thomas HD and Flick. If there's anybody to rise to the challenge and go after these guys, it will be them. You can see Anas already holding on to elimination. Flick finds Mitro off of the start, and not only that, but the power weapons in their hands. You can see Tayson tries to make a little bit of an escape here, but you know they're going to ride that one down right away. Big white tags coming out there, and Flick, who accounts for 75% of this trio's eliminations pre-round, or pre-zone 5, is going to find his second one here, and they're going to wrap up for the first time in this tournament. Tayson, Mitro, and Mongo go down with 0 points. They had never finished lower than 7th place before this, and that was all the way back in the first game. So now, all of a sudden, that battle for 2nd place, everyone else gets that one opportunity to kind of, I believe the technical term is, shrink that leaderboard gap just a little bit.
Oh, man. And that is the story that we have now developing. I took a look at Twitter, okay? I took a look, and Flick, all he tweeted out was a demon. That's all he tweeted out. Anas, he said, we should have never left. I'm telling you, the problems of switching from their drop spot. They switched from that dirty docks where they were being so strong and so prominent, and they had strong finishes. When they switched to retail row, I just think they noticed that it wasn't enough. They weren't getting their power weapons. They weren't getting all the resources that they need for their play style. And now they realize that, hey, man, you know, yeah, you never know. They could pop off. You never know, Sundown. You never know, Sundown.
And we've talked about it before as well with this trio coming through. One, they're incredible in terms of their playmaking ability. Whether it's early or late game, we've seen Flick just kind of let running. They also get a nice little Llama 210 pick up there, some extra maps, extra utility. Not that the Stark Industries team will need it after that fact, but I mean, the playmaking capability, but on the flip side of that, let's talk about kind of the mental check that's now going to put on Mitro, Mongo, and Tayson.
Huge.
Because for this entire competition, they haven't had to worry about sitting there in queues. They haven't had to worry about thinking who's going to come there. They haven't had to game plan something else. They haven't had to prep for somebody to come challenge them. Now, all of a sudden, not only are you eliminated in 30 seconds with 0 points, you have to sit there for half an hour, watch everyone else play outside while you're stuck there in jail. No more games for you back in the lobby. And they're out of that rhythm a little bit. They're a trio who very much kind of rides on that momentum. They're very, very emotional players. When they made the World Cup announcement back in the day, people joked about Mitro and Mongo being the loudest duo, both for the keyboard clacks and just the way they celebrate when they make their plays. But now that they've been silenced for a second, how do they react?
Tayson will have the biggest challenge of them all. Will Mongo and Mitro put up that brick wall and not listen to his calls? Yeah, it's going to be up to Tayson to kind of hold that ship from going capsizing completely. Giannis, Alex, and Xweez, they have an opportunity now to gain some grounds here. They are about 60-plus points away. They're certainly sitting in second place. Another trio that we took a peek in down in Slurpy Swamps was Kinzel, Wolfie, and CR. That opens up the door to gain some ground, but we're talking about a difference of about 2 victory royales and some like close to double-digit elims. That's what's going to be required. And the difference is as well as we still have plenty of games to go, Sundown. We're just barely into the second half here of the grand finals here of the FNCS trios.
And it was starting to feel like it couldn't be overcome because of how consistent they were. There was no hope. There was nobody who wanted to rise up and be the ones to challenge them. However, we've kind of talked about it before. Like, Jaspe and Co., yes, they 50-50 the chess, but they were relatively successful, and they turned a couple of those late games around. So especially if a top trio comes in with a game plan on how to take those fights, and they come in not necessarily fearing those 3 off of the bat, which they're one of the 3 players who can really genuinely say, like, yeah, let's go fight these guys and maybe come out better than 50-50. Now all of a sudden you're gonna think, okay, Mongo really wants to get revenge there, but if they're not, they haven't had to practice this drop being contested through the first 6 or 7 games. Now all of a sudden 8th game they lose it. 9th game, if they lose it again, there's gonna be that seed of doubt in there. But right now, Razumi trying to get a little bit of doubt on this team, rotating away here, and a little bit of storm tags as they just remain utilizing their soft mats to get some positioning.
And Sapphics trio here is looking for a good start here in day 2. Haven't gotten any points at the moment in 11th place. Sapphic has been one of our slayers here in the region, picking up 15-plus elims by himself. But speaking of opportunities, opening the door here, it feels like, you know, at Anas, Thomas, Stacey, and Flick have slayed the beast, right? Now all the villagers are going to have a good time to try to claim that castle up there. And Nakos, Clement, and Flokis have an opportunity to storm that castle. They're sitting in 4th place at the moment. They're still about 30 points away, so that is a victory royale. They could definitely do it in one punch, but they could slowly jab their way up their leaderboard, Sundown.
I would say it's probably more equivalent to either scratching the dragon's nose and making him think for a second.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's where he breathes the fire at him, so he's got like a little. He's like,
Yeah,
hey, let's minor discomfort. I wasn't ready for that. I'm gonna come back in a moment, but like, yeah, the villagers are celebrating. They're like, yay, we drove off the beast. Or it's like punching a great white shark in the face. It's like, yeah, you know what? You punched the great white shark in the face, but that shark is still in the water with you. Yeah, you showed that maybe you might be a little bit of a threat. Maybe you can punch back, but he's still there. They still exist, and while they're going to be forced out for just a little second, one, who takes advantage of that opportunity? And 2, what happens when that angry shark, that angry dragon, the poked bear decides to come back in the next match? But right now, we're going to keep on board here with the teams who will have an opportunity to close the gap, because realistically, going into the back 5 of these games, only really the teams in the top 4 or maybe the top 5 can statistically still kind of overtake this route, and it's going to take a large effort. As you see Clement going and doing every little thing right, making sure they maximize on the utility here, going all the way out and picking up that second big pot, and then going to rotate back up the zone.
And you know, I know the Halloween party is over and all that spooky scariness, but I've always learned to double tap. You always got to double tap and make sure that monster is down. And that's what Flick, Thomas, and Nos, they're going to have to double tap that down if they're going to keep Mongrel's trio at bay. So Mongol Trio is out. Now let's just focus in on who is in and who has the opportunity to go up the leaderboard. And if you're questioning anybody out there, like why would Thomas and Nas and Flick do that? Because they're slipping down the leaderboard. They start off the day with 15th. They're going down to 17th. Having Stark, that strong POI in their back pocket now, could enable them to get up the leaderboard and secure themselves thousands of dollars. All of it is on the line.
And people are going to say, oh, why would they go and grief the top trio like that? And to my response to that, are you crazy? Are you crazy? They're competing to try to be the absolute top mark.
Yes.
And if this is a trio who is more than capable of winning games, especially when you see Thomas and Anas enabled with shockwaves. That's kind of what you really need to take away. They have to have a reliable way of getting the late game utility. That's how they've won their games. And if you can go start and guarantee that, yes, you have to fight one of the best teams in the entire game to get them. But if you want to win, you have to beat those guys anyway. And they finally said enough is enough. And if you're going to post your spot on Twitter, if you're going to talk about how you're so good at defending this spot, you better have a game plan and you better back it up. Because anybody has the opportunity to land anywhere. This is Fortnite Battle Royale. And if a team gives you a hard enough time, you need to game plan better and find a way to deal with it.
And that is what we call preach right then and there, Sundown. Now we're on board here with BDS, Robots. They got a victory royale here. They were able to have a very nice aggressive play. They kind of took the textbook of fighting on the low ground, doing really well. And they got a victory royale. So one of the few teams that have a victory royale, because Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson have 3 victory royales. Yanis Trio has 1 victory royale. Kenzel's Trio has 1. And as well, Gamma's Cammy's Trio has 1 as well. Cammy and Co. So those are the stories that are unfolding here. And the great thing is, you know, we can speculate all you want, but it is the competitors themselves that answers the questions. And that is what we're watching here as the drama unfolds. And the drama will pick up for Wolfies and CRR, considering Kenzel, the back-to-back DreamHack champion, goes down. And Kenzel is just like just like Tayson for this trio. He kind of holds it all together, considering that in DreamHack it's a very placement-heavy format, and having that ability to kind of slow pace, passively, aggressively at times whenever you needed to get your way further into in-game, that's going to help off people like CRR Wolfies, who are known to be great opens box fighter players.
But right now, we're keeping an eye on that Storm Surge special on the right-hand side, just above the map. We talked about them being below it. Well, the key snipe there coming from that World Cup runner-up there, the young controller player from England. Wolfie's finding a great tag and a sneaky little bullet in there on Sakura through the window, just like a true sniper would. Well done to put himself above. And we talk about the little moments. That moment is so much bigger than just the 1 point on the elimination. Shedding themselves of that Storm Surge threat is going to be massive in terms of just getting positioning. As we've seen, atypical compared to what we've seen in Europe so far. There's been more and more Storm Surge thresholds. And coming into Grand Finals, no team had more elims versus Mongrels trio than Flicks. And a part of that has to do with the rotation path. They're always coming out of the east and passing that Stark Industries. And also, man, just pound for pound, they're one of the few trios who actual wall-to-wall matches up with those guys. And when we talk about kind of wall-to-wall, that's when you're in a box against somebody and not necessarily in the same space, but owning 1 or 2 walls in between you guys. These guys execute on those fights almost better than anyone in Europe.
And Thomas is a superstar, had a great run in heats. Anas and Flick are right behind him as well. They're forming a very strong trio. Thomas HG had some Twitter barbs with Zexro from NA East. Thomas HG was talking about, hey, who could come over here from NA East and compete? Should I go over there? It's so interesting. We all wish we had a World Cup Part 2. Like I said, sometimes the sequels are better than the originals. We all wish that. We all wish we'd be able to settle the great debate of EU versus NA. And don't forget about the Latin American. Don't forget about the Asia. Don't forget about OCE. We're talking about Fortnite, baby, worldwide. Some of the best competitors all throwing down, and it's all happening here in this amazing month here. I cannot wait to see who's going to walk away champion here for EU, and I cannot wait to see who's going to walk away for champion in NA East, so the debate's going to kick back up again.
You can see right now we're hopping on board here with that second place team on the leaderboard, who's going to try and take advantage of that opportunity to shrink that leaderboard and shrink the lead of that top trio. But I'm glad you mentioned something about Latin America, because there's an international land. We've seen just how good King can be in those. Squeeze, aka MCES, duck on top there, finds a nice little knock and some key shots on players trying to rotate in. Now this positioning, we talked about it time and time before, it's called a gatekeeping position. When you're in the safe zone and pressuring players who have the zone at their back, or either already into it and need to make it into the new safe zone. And it's where a lot of teams who had the foresight to rotate earlier are able to get key opportunities to pick up eliminations. And you can see right now, Duck on top doing a great job spraying down shots there, having control of the pieces in the area, and now trying to locate where that weak member is.
And we're seeing already the rest of the lobby, seems to heating up at the right moment. Hen picks up a knock right there in the Elam feed, so that's going to be huge for them. Now that we know that the big monsters are out of the game, that's just going to make everyone play a little bit more loose. It's like all of a sudden the parents are not watching it anymore. The kids are going to run rambunctious. The Rugrats are going to do what they do best. And that's going to be an opportunity that they have to capitalize. You're going to have a big pop-up game here if you're Analex, Xweez, and Giannis. If you want an opportunity to get that first place, and I mean, we're all going to have to keep an eye on. We talked about moments leading to bigger moments, and that moment of the opening engagement from Thomas, Flick, and Anas getting out Mongrel is causing so much waves throughout the entire time. And look at that. Analyx, Giannis have someone on the ropes in that back half. Let's take a look at the overall picture here and see who's going to have a strong position going forward. This is going to be a very interesting in-game, considering we have a lot of water and Lazy Lake POI in the distance.
Right now, you can see Wolfie's CRR not having to move, just still perched up on top of the building. Manouf, Moraine, Jaspe, the other team who had originally contested over at Stark Industries, but not brave enough to go over there in the grand finals, posted up. Getting a nice 360 view here. Shout out to the observers, by the way. They've done a great job catching all of the action and giving us some of these beautiful shots. So see a nice little double ramp rush coming out from our second place team. That to me indicates that that fourth zone was revealed, and they're going to try and get priority over that entire western side, and a good push from them there as we see Floki also pick up an elimination onto Swag. So the French trio continuing their tradition of picking up more elims than normal in the mid game, as Andalex in another one of those gatekeeping positions here, priority high zone. And I mean, the reason they're packed around the outside is that fourth circle, so we have half in, half out right after this.
This is a strong gatekeeping opportunity. The only danger they risk is getting sniped returned, and that kind of return to sender type lethality is going to be so dangerous to deal with. But they're sitting good. They're covering angles, and someone almost out of nowhere, kind of peekaboo, Jack in the Box, took a shotgun blast for Analyx and kind of woke him up for a brief moment. You got to be careful here. You have those edits open, the greed sets in, and we've been seeing time again, Benji gets sniped in the back various times. We saw a highlight where Thomas HT was able to sneak up on him, and they had a harpoon snipe play. Hey, that greed could catch up to you. You have to be sure that you have all your angles covered before you move on. But look at this, Sundown, a max rotation pull, and this is going to be tough for Analyx, Giannis, and Xweez, considering that there's a lot of people in their way for making this rotation.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. Okay, I was just about to say, trying to see who has shockwaves on that side, because they're going to be using it right away, because if you go too late, everyone else on that side will have already built up on the high ground and be turning around. So you need to kind of time it with other teams, so there's a plethora of targets going through the air and you don't end up just getting swatted down like a clay pigeon. But right now, Xweez and Andalex instead opting to stay up on their high ground, and they're going to pick up Patrick and Deceptos, leaving Hen all by himself there. We're also now rotating into the first round of placement points. 18 trios remaining, so one more will need to fall. Then every single trio that drops will be a singular point. Wolfies picks up a huge knock there onto Clement, indicating they're also making a rotation towards kind of that central zone. Everybody already posted up in Lazy Lake is more than happy and keeping an eye on the Elam feed. Janice gets knocked there as well. So our top four trios facing a little bit of adversity, but who's capitalizing on the opportunity right now? It's the team who took the situation by the horns. Thomas HT and Co. grabbing some Elams. We're going to hop back on board here with Nate, Smash Dave, and Bobo, Exalti, our wild card team, trying to find some more rifle Elams on the side.
Rojo's team going into the day or top 10. They kind of slipped a little bit there, and they're trying to find their footing in 12th place. This is a strong opportunity. You had basically the lowest of chances to get into the grand finals, and you were one of the ones that came out on top in a wild card finish. And there's just proving the point how strong the EU region is. The 33rd team is now sitting in a top 15 situation. Now we're going to kind of pull back. Let's take a look. We already know that actually Wolfie's spot get taken out by Flick's trio. So now we're going to take a look here as now the first 6 full rotating circle is revealed, and Exalting Nate and Rojo get that prime priority position.
And that's the benefit of going early with the utility. They're going to be able to go before anybody else identifies the opportunity to. Keeping an eye on the top left, Thomas HD and Co. still rattling off the eliminations and making their push further up into the money, taking advantage of the opportunity they made for themselves. It's a breaching charge up the leaderboard, but right there, Bobo finding a great shot and good conversion onto Matzo that Rojo's going to be able to pick up. Hen still on his feet, trying to do it 1v3 style like he's used to. Steelix finding CRR in the feed as well, but Bobo just trying to find a little bit of room here on the low ground. Sees his teammates are a couple levels above him, should be looking to rejoin them, as now we're going to flip on over to the side of the zone, get a wide shot there to see everyone trying to rotate and get in front so they can then about face on the rest of the lobby. And our second place trio is still up on their feet, but it's just in a duo form, as Floki is also going to get knocked. It's all going to be on Nakos now for our 4th place trio, as the first place of points will take over. Every trio up beginning 1 point, but still 40 players remaining, 9 of which are under Storm Surge. Our 4th place trio going down. 2nd place trio also getting knocked here, as Nate, Dave, and Bobo are continuing to just be on the front priority of the zone. Hen doing his best solo Ranger impression, picking up another knock, but right now all about priority, as these guys are going to begin to find picks.
We're going to see a new name at Hype very shortly, considering Mongo Trios is out. They went out at the very beginning. This is the wild card on the low ground, working as a unit, doing really well. They're trying to find space control. They don't have much of it, considering there's a lot of enemy builds, but they're going on the Storm side of things, so they're going to be able to save as much as possible. A nice pickup by Nate right there is going to go back into the Storm to pick up those valuable loot. Now we're going to get a point and see and look at who's at the mid ground, who's at second height, who is at the low ground. It looks like Nate Exalti, actually Bobo going down. So it's going to be Nate to Rojo right now. And Rojo is really low. So all of it's going to be back time for Nate, considering that he has a strong power weapon. He has some crash pads, so he can cause some destruction. And now Nate is going solo dolo. Steely picks up an Elim. Hitsy picks up an Elim, and Steely, and Hen picks up a knock, and Hen is still up, and Nate picks up an Elim. Everybody's trying to capitalize that, knowing that the big dogs are out of this match here, Sundown.
And Hen finally going down the solo run into the top 10, but Nate says, I'm Mr. Solo Dolo himself. Crash pad up on the high ground, gets Antarak, and we saw SLQ had a brilliant kind of tactical performance yesterday, hiding in the tree there for their 2nd place. So some high ground control, but again, textbook from the top down. When they're given the power position, they're taking advantage and trying to storm up the leaderboard. Thomas HD flicking it off on the high ground, and nothing to do now.
And Squeeze is out, so that is the 2nd place team going down, getting eliminated. This is Thomas and Anas and Flick's world to be able to bolt themselves up their leaderboard. This is the strong opportunity to do so. They already have, look at that, double-digit elims, 11 elims. This is going to be such a strong game from this trio, and now we're in a top 4 situation. And Flick and Nas and Thomas HD has initiated the spread, the split, the deadly split that a trio could initiate and rack up a lot of elims and cause disruption. And Flick has those crash pads as well. He's going to be able to throw them down and cause more disruption on the low ground.
But I want to see them execute and close out this game. Too many times during the qualifiers, they'll be in this position and it'll slip away in the final moment. And if they want to put themselves in the money, if they want to unseat Mitro, Mongo, and Tasted all the way, not just from the landing spot, but from a miraculous run and unseat them at the top, they have to get all the elims in the victory run out. Nos finding Flois in the side. Thomas making sure he's all the way up on height, and he has a shockwave to also throw down on the low ground. Going to continue with the crash pads, sends up Anas, but Flick goes down. They're going to put the heals onto Thomas, and then Anas is going to go down and try and close out the match. Challenge comes up with a big 75 tag coming through. Here's the thing. Anas is down 1v3, but the tick is going to end up coming over. Centric is in the zone. He has the healing pads, and Thomas HD clutches it up there. Well done, Louis, going down in 17 eliminations.
That was awesome. Unbelievable. It is grand finals. It is hype. We are going to need a leaderboard check. Zeke, Shio, and Reese, what you got for us?
I'm sorry. Did Thomas just full send it with no builds in that final moment? The confidence to say, look, I'm going over the edge here, and I'm walking away with the victory royale. Thomas, listen, okay? These are the plays. I cannot believe it. Also, the casters talked about it. This trio swapping it up, saying Mongrel, Mitro, Tayson, no longer. We are the new Kingslayers on the turf. We will find you on your POI. We will claim it as our own, and we will walk that through to the victory royale. A massive 40-point game swing, and now they are looking to contest in that top spot. Can they keep doing this, though? Shy, if they could keep this going, if they could keep shutting them down, we could see them walk away the victors.
It'll have to be a repeated time loop every single game, though. They'll have to come to bargain over and over again, because right now the top 5 is looking exactly the same.
You have no changes here at all. What I'm very interested to see, though, is where that put Flick, Anas, and Thomas HD. These guys really were not performing. They were down at 17th, and up to their own standards, these guys are definitely a top 5 team. However, where's this put them? And here's our answer. 6th place after that. So that's moved them up 11 spots on the leaderboard just from one victory royale with 15 eliminations. Another team that we've seen moving up here there was Nate, Bobo, and Exalty there as well, down in 10th. These guys have moved up from 12th. I meant Rojo instead of Exalty. I said his name twice, but these guys are fantastic. They've moved up there from 5 eliminations, 5th, and we saw Nate going into a little bit of a solo endgame. He came 14th in the solo FNCS, so he's capable of that clutching, and that was really showing there in his gameplay.
Yeah, but Sundown said it best. It doesn't matter how many elims these guys get or if they just get the victory royale. It has to be everything. It has to be a combination of both in one game, done multiple times if you want to hit that top 5. Even with such an impressive game there from Flick, Anas, and Thomas HD, it only puts them in 6th, and they were all the way down here from 16th, 15th to 20th. So any of these teams, if they want a shot to push forward, get there in the top spots at the end of day 2, have to play perfectly repeatedly, and that is a tall ask.
Yeah, you know, some of the teams that we've seen here, 16 to 20, I kind of mentioned it last time. They're just struggling that early and mid-game. If you look through their game history, a lot of them are going around that 25th, 24th slots, and this is, if you see this in the leaderboards, usually means that they're going down to Storm Surge. You know, they didn't have enough tags, and then they have to try and take a dumb fight that they didn't really need to.
Yeah, but now we have a little bit of a tournament on our hands, because it's not guaranteed that the first place team of Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson has a game to play every single time off drop for free. Stark Industries is one of the most polarizing drops that can fight where they just end in a matter of 5 seconds.
Guys, this is very scary, because you got to think about it. This time, it went Thomas and Trio's way. But this next game, especially if they're looking to contest them game after game, if they are the ones that fall and then Mongrel, Mitro, and Tasty turn around and get a victory royale, this could really stunt their overall placement and like lessen the amount of prize money they could walk away on the day. We have a tournament on our hands. You said it the best. Now let's talk about what we have watched in this game, the change up of the drop spots. Break it all down for us.
It was Thomas, the hype tank train engine we were looking at in that last game. From the beginning, we saw it happen on stream, but let's look at it again. Making the last-ditch effort decision to contest one of the strongest spots on the map, to contest the first-place team, and win it without anyone going down. My goodness.
And you know, Anas tweeted that they were going to be landing here for every single event once the place was actually initially put into the game, and they didn't really hold up to that. However, we've just seen Anas on Twitter retweet it saying we're landing here, and this was clearly the forthcoming of that, because they landed and they popped off big time.
Yep, and they continued it all the way to endgame, a dominant showing of just staying on height, a clutch crash bat to make sure Thomas HD got that bandage cannon. Then he had position. He goes for a super shockwave. He gets mid-air shots down. That Stark energy rifle you can only really get at those drop ships, but at the same time also at Stark Industries. That's where they landed. They got the win. Flick went down. It's all good. They had complete trust in their last man who was clutching all the way towards the top. It was Thomas's show at the very end of the game, but it was this trio just playing so well and making the best decisions to keep their tournament dream alive.
It looked like there was some baby oil on the low ground there because so many teams all just fell at the exact same time going down. But Thomas HD, you can see the huge shockwave up there, and using the Stark Rifle, kind of like Shio mentioned there, has really good accuracy from the hip fire, so while he's shockwaving, he's going to be able to hit those shots like that and pick up that big Victory Royale easily.
I just can't believe it. Just watching it back, it's like, dude, the confidence that Thomas has, and we were kind of talking right before we came back, it's like, Thomas, you've been in this situation before, you know what you need to do, and he's just so comfortable. For him, it looks so effortless, because in these times, he knows he can clutch. There's no fear, it's just, we're going. We're going to walk forward, we're going to find the victory out, we're going to push ourselves closer and closer up to the top. I am so excited that this could be happening. I'm very scared to watch these trios fight it out again, because again, it may not go the same way. It may be very different. We'll have to see. Fortnite fan, we're going to go to a break. When we return, the final 4 games and inevitably our new FNCS Trios champions. We'll see you guys in 5 minutes. Come back. You won't want to miss it.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? Reset back with another video, and in today's video I want to cover height. We're going to be using Zate, Saf and Stretch as an example, and one of their games where they picked up a Victory Royale from Qualifier 3 Round 3 of the FNCS. Across the 12 games, these guys picked up 4 Victory Royales, and they hold height in an absolutely textbook way, so let's dive into that. Firstly, just for super basic, height is when you're on the very highest layer of the moving zones in endgame. And this is powerful for many reasons. Firstly, because you use the least amount of materials to traverse the moving zones, you have a ton of angles on players to shoot down on, you have the best opportunities for healing, and you only need to worry about players below you, so you don't have to cover your left, right and above, which you'll have to on low and mid ground layers. I like to categorize the art of playing high ground into 2 separate categories: claiming and maintaining. Claiming high ground does not start in the end game, it starts much earlier in the mid game, and in this game in particular, Zate, Saf and Stretch try to claim the high ground as early as the 3rd zone. You can see them take up a large amount of space horizontally here, with Zate and Saf building over onto another area, so they have 2 separate points of high ground. Later on in the game, when the 4th zone appears, they're not actually inside of this zone, so they wait late until other players have already built up there, and then they all shockwave over and claim the high ground there. The only reason that these guys get to the highest layer in 4 is because they'd already set themselves up on a higher layer in the 3rd zone. This allows them simply to just shockwave over and claim it. From here on out, our team's goals switch up from claiming high ground to maintaining it. Really, they're not looking for a huge amount of eliminations here. Their main goal is just to ensure they are the only ones on height. They do this by shooting at other players who have built up in other areas of the zone to around equal levels of them, and also by looking down, looking at players who are 1 or 2 layers below them, and pressuring these guys to make it seem like there's no chance that they're going to claim height over Zate, Saf and Stretch. You can see that the 5th zone is almost max distance from where they are now, so this is where Zate, Saf and Stretch are going to need to start claiming the high ground again. Zate hits a beautiful snipe on one of the opposing players at the opposite height, so this is an immediate flag that our team should now just go and grab that height, because these guys are going to be on the defensive, trying to pick up the res on this teammate, and aren't going to be focusing on maintaining that high ground. What Zate does is he actually shockwaves over to another layer of builds, and then builds out into the zone to create a different area of high ground. Then, once this is solidified, Saf and Stretch both then come over onto this high ground, and then Zate actually goes over to the other
happening right now is we're getting to closer and closer. This is game 9. We have a total of 4 left, including this one. We're seeing a lot of teams now going for those home run dingers. They're going for those, I guess, mid-pitch shots towards goal at the moment, going all for nothing, because that is what we have here. Everything has to be put on the line. So that's why you're seeing this. Now the question is Mongrel, Mitro, Tayson alive? Are they still up? Can they still build on their lead? Because already that gap is closing.
And one thing here in particular as well, if you do get eliminated early, I guarantee you need to have somebody going back, doing your homework, and finding a secondary spot, because there's only so many games where you're going to be comfortable taking this type of pressure. It happens every single time up on the leaderboard, and now swinging over. We see Mitro and Tayson on their feet, 2 elims in Tayson's hand, but time and time again, we have talked about it. This trio struggles without Mongrel. They have yet to find any amount of success when he goes down early. He is their playmaker, and despite just how strong the other two in their own right, it seems like they really struggle to find ground. Well,
it's so interesting. The biggest areas of drop spots fights has been Retail, Misty, Steamy, Lazy, and Dooms. And so essentially throughout this entire grand finals, I mean, Stark's Industry has been chill. You know, chill vibes all around as Hen picks up a confirmation in the Elim feed. So Hen is now finding his footing. Hen, another rising star in the EU side from Become Legends. Now, Tayson and Mitro, their main objective, you may say, is, of course, get Mongrel back, reboot him back from the reboot ban, but it goes beyond just having him back. He is their ultimate closer. He has the most elims in this grand final. He is such a dangerous player, and together as a trio, you've been seeing the results, and that is why they're on top of the board here with 186 points going into this match.
And one of the key things they're doing right now, knowing they already have the 2 eliminations, and also compared to every other game, this is so much of a sparser game. 78 players, 77 players remaining, when before in these situations we've seen upwards of 91. They're hanging out in the side of the zone. They know there's more than enough bandages, more than enough med kits. They have a bandage bazooka as well. They're just trying to hang out and wait for this reboot ban, knowing that the priority is, if they have the card, getting Mongrel back on his feet. It is the only thing that matters, because their potential for picking up points goes up so incredibly high, and here comes the play. And notice how they waited until the zone was pulling too, so everyone else left. They have excess white heals. They're going to try and get as much through. This is an incredibly intelligent play, because if they had gone and done the reboot beforehand, the other teams who are still there, who are still hanging out, or waiting for this top trio to leave, would have heard that sound and effectively would have been a dinner bell.
This is the ultimate mental check. Every champion goes through adversity. That's what makes you a champion. Like Dwayne Wade said, that 3-time NBA champion. Fall 7 times, get up 8. So it's now in time for Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson to stand back up and let the EU region know, yeah, you could send out your tweets, you could come and contest, but the ultimate tweet that's going to echo in eternity is that screenshot of you being on top of the leaderboard, saying that you are the FNCS Trios champion, and that is what's on the line for this trio.
And a good job. We talked about it. Hey, they might not be getting out of here with all the spoils, but they've got 2 points. They're not going to be under threat of the initial storm surge, and Mongrel is on his feet. That's all that matters. Yes, the white HP is going to be a little wanting. Yes, they're going to be lacking on shields, but because of the bandage cannon and because they're doing such a late rotation, there's going to be a minimal amount of pressure on them here. So this is realistically going to allow them coast. If you don't completely wipe them out, it's not good enough.
It kind of reminds me of the World Series here in the 2020 over here in the States. I know this is an EU region broadcast. In that World Series, the Dodgers, the Los Angeles Dodgers, went on to win the whole thing. They were mostly known as a home run hit team, but then they started playing small ball, going for singles, doubles, triples to accrue their runs. So now it's going to be a small ball game for Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson. They cannot go for that big home run with that big old, according to Twitter now, Starks equals Victory Royale. It's not going to be that simple for them, but like I said, a champion's ride is going to go through some troubles. Now, a champion going through troubles is Benji, Lechi, and Savage, who have not yet to kind of hold on to their day in day two, but it could happen right here. Benji with a big time 200 back to back, and now they know Benji's here to fight, and Benji's able to clutch it up solo style, but man, clutching up this early in the game all the way to end game, that's going to be a huge story to tell for Benji.
That is a huge ask, but if anybody can step up to that plate, it's him, and he's going to get the pick, know he's clear of Storm Surge, and then just get out of dodge, knowing that rotating past him would have taken him past Andalix, Squeeze, and Janice there. So instead, going to move towards the north side, try and find a little bit of a more sparse, a little bit of a safer rotation. Finds a big pot in there as well. So his loadout not looking awful, and he's got plenty of excess utility. So, I mean, he's set up for... And that was it just 2 slurpfish hanging around there?
Hey, I mean, sometimes you just walk around and you vulture your way and you get some nice loot. Sometimes, you know, Lady Luck is on your side. And now that's what's going to be required for Benji. As you can see, there's a dangerous trio looming in the distance. This is their second place team in the grand finals. Is Andalixianus and Xweez still really super behind here. We're talking about 40 plus points behind our first place of Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson. And you know, their work that they did, they conditioned this leaderboard Sundown, and all they have to do, you mentioned it time and time again, is just be on your feet, rack up those placement points. You already are going to be safe because you don't have to deal with Storm Surge, because you did have a very contested drop, as we saw there for that brief moment. And now, you know what? When you're on top of the board this way, the rest of the E region don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to walk around that someone was able just to put triple digits on them easily. They don't want that. You have a target on your back now, and the question is, how are you going to respond to that?
And the one thing to note in particular, too, is their inability to capitalize on the one opportunity they got. While getting the placement points and while getting some eliminations, it's not quite enough because Mongrel and Co. have 17 more eliminations than the next closest trio. These guys are still fragging out. They have 41 elims, they're the second highest, and they have a 7.2 placement. But the fact that Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson are beating them in both of those categories, with the most important aspect being those 3 victory royales. Every single one of those victory royales is just a base plus 5 points. So from the victory royales alone, that's plus 15. The difference in elimination gives them plus 17. And then they also have a better average placement score coming through there. So you have to find a huge performance on top of them going down. And again, with 4 matches left, it's still possible. But every single match that passes makes it more and more unlikely and more likely that everyone else is fighting for second.
And at the same time, you have Kinzel, Wolfies, and CRR who are right behind you. They're very close to upend your ride here and get into second place. Every placement here matters. We're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars of prize pool money on the line, and that is what's at stake for all the other trios. Hey, Mongrel and Mitro and Tayson statistically are so far ahead. It's just a battle for second and third. But now that we're seeing that the EU region is stepping up, they're now landing at Stark, multiple trios. The question is, can Tayson lead Mongrel and Mitro to a better pasture when it comes to these kind of contestations? As now we see Tayson now trying to get a snipe in, and look at them, they're still being aggressive. Granted, they just left Shambles Town. They're still trying to do their best to enter that champions row.
I'm very questionable about drawing any attention to yourself right now.
I know,
We've seen they don't have excess shields. You're making a rotation through the open, but they say, Sundown, don't you know who we are? We feel comfortable with the lead. We feel like we need a refresher here. Let's go box to box. We're some of the best in the world here. Mongo providing the support there with the burst rifle as Tayson leading the charge there. The ELF. The box, he's inside the box. Mitro knocks Smudge. Prickleino goes down, and in the blink of an eye, 23 teams to 22 teams well above Storm Surge, but we talked about calling attention to yourself, and what happens? They were able to get the mats, but now it's going to be on Mongrel to hold off the lobby focus, and everyone should know that's them. There was no other action. They should be pouring the shots in. Tayson is down. Mongrel is down. Mitro, no shields and just the white HP to his name. You would assume that everyone would just be pouring in the bullets right now and not giving him an opportunity. They need to capitalize on this, and there it is. Down they go. 21st for Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson. They get 6 points, but again, that door that looked pretty firmly shut, deadbolted and had a lock on it. Well, maybe there's a little bit of light. Maybe there's a gap, but the question is, who will step up?
That totally reminded me of that scene with Mean Girls with Regina George, where all of a sudden everyone realized Regina George was on the ropes and everyone uprises against Regina George, and that's right there. All of a sudden the lobby folks just decided, enough, Mongrel, Mitro, Tayson, enough. We're going to put you in your place for the time being. But hey, that place is on top, man. They're still feeling good. There's still another ultimate mental check for them to deal with. And Kenzel has a lot to deal with. Kenzel now has to be solo, the back-to-back DreamHack champion, which was a solo tournament. That was an amazing ride, and Kenzel getting that signature victory on his resume showed the world, showed the EU region that he is a strong player. Going to have a strong performance right here already. Benji with the biggest ask. Now we have Kenzel with the biggest ask.
Now you can see he's currently sitting in 3rd place, but if anybody's able to make a play like this into a 50-50 by himself.
Oh, too big to ask.
And now we're on to the next trio as he gets beamed out of the sky. The bouncer shockwave not executed well enough. He says, how tall do you have to be to ride the ride? Well, regardless, the 2-time DreamHack champion swatted it down there. So we're going to hop on over to another trio who's looking to capitalize on the opportunity. We have Gamer Origin, Deceptos, Become Legends, Hen, and Navi. Patrick, again, kind of talked about it a little bit. Hen has really been the fulcrum for this team. He's been the playmaker, and if they're able to keep him on his feet, they have plenty of opportunities to make a splash. The issue is they struggle in concluding their mid-game fights quickly, and they only seem to really win in the games when they're winning really hard and don't have the ability to kind of tilt that in their favor that often. And if you're not able to kind of minimize the RNG and manipulate circumstances into your favor, it becomes difficult. However, every once in a while, things are going to pull your way, just like they now have priority positioning on their zone and not a team in the way. As I say that, the rotation begins coming out, and you know what? They said, everyone hop in the sedan, we're going for a ride.
And just to show you what kind of ride that you could have with a pop-off game right here, right now, Thomas H.C. and Nas and Flick were able to go from 15th place all the way to 6th place with that strong finish in the Victory Royale. Hen, Deceptos, Patrick are now sitting in that 15th place. Can this be that pop-off game that they're looking for? Making that vehicle rotation is so dangerous, but Hen, Patrick, and Deceptos, their game plan is to go for height with a really aggressive retake. So, yes, they're currently sitting really close to low ground, but watch them as you're seeing on the top. Deceptos leading the charge, tunneling, tarping his way, and now you're going to have Hen and Patrick that kind of be looking in the backside of things. Patrick most likely is going to be the support player, but Hen is the one that's going to be the most damage as a fragger.
And the one thing to note right now is they actually don't have any utility to go up. No crash pads, no bouncers, no shockwaves. What they do have is floppers.
Oh,
so they try and find some picks or find a play there. They find Analyx and grab the body, huck them back, see if there's anything there. Shields sorting through. What they're looking for is a way to go up. Because as you talked about, that's where they do best. And what they get from that is a crash pad. And that's going to signal the alarm. You hear it in the background. It's going off right now. And another down coming through. Navi Patrick finding the elim on the box-to-box. Deceptos is going to be the one who's able to confirm it there. And all of a sudden, with only one elimination on the low ground, they're going to turn it into 3 and some utility to potentially make a play. Crash pads and floppers in the inventory.
And man, and what some great space control on this layer. And the EU region wanted the smoke, and now the fire is ablaze, considering that Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson are out. Who is going to stand tall after all the ashes are done? That is the question they ask. And Hen, Patrick, and Deceptos, we've all been waiting. We've all been wondering, where are they? They had such a strong performance in heats, and Hen on your bottom left picks up a knock right there with some double beam, triple beam support from the rest of his trio mates. And now Hen, he's not done yet. Just like a machine, he's going to turn his attention to the backside of the storm. Very strong trio performance as we are now in the top 11. So placement points will be doled out. And here we go. They're going to try to make a move. And be careful, though, because height could kind of beam down on them, because considering that they're very close to second from height.
And this is what it's all about. Players taking opportunity and rocketing themselves up the leaderboard. A huge pump there in the bottom left-hand screen. That's the one you want to keep your eye on. That's Hen with the floppers, with the shockwaves. He found it in a pick. He found another one. The backside of the zone plays. The young Englishman who's been on fire since the Cash Cup win on his birthday is trying to catch a dub here on the largest stage possible and take themselves from 15th back into contention, just like Thomas HD and co. But Deceptos goes down. That's generally his partner in crime, so Patrick is going to have to do. But look who's still in the lobby. Thomas HD's name in that elimination feed. They're capitalizing on the opportunity and making plays for themselves. We're going to hop back on board here with Hen. 11 players remaining, 9 players remaining. 4 trios left as Thomas gets a nice double there to continue their push towards the top. High ground, though. Munch just raining down shots. We have Hen in the bottom right, Thomas in the top right. These are two of the best playmakers in the game as Hen finds another one. Shockwave's about to come out. It's all up to Hen as he goes for height. Doesn't find it there, but still has the floppers. Thomas also looking for his own room. Can either of them solo clutch up against the trio on high ground? That's been the theme of Europe, and here we go.
And Thomas gets another elim. Thomas has the ability to do it. With 9 elims, it is a possibility.
Hands
2
on height.
solo players. Oh my goodness, hands on height. The trio is now between sandwich right now of Thomas HD and Hen. Hen is raining down some fire, and they're going to go down into the arms of Thomas HD. Hen and Thomas pick up elims. No build for Hen. This is an opportunity! An opportunity! Yes!
What a play!
Up and gets Thomas HD and Munch! Oh my goodness, Hen! What a way to close this out, and Sundown is speechless!
And that was sick. We've talked about how good he is, how him and Thomas are the fulcrum. Well, the two of the best individual clutchers in the final moments there, going back to back, punch for punch, shot for shot, elimination for elimination, but in the end, Hen walks away, and that's now twice in a row. We've seen the 15th place team rocket themselves up the leaderboard with a victory royale.
And that's all you want, man. That's all you want is a chance, is an opportunity to represent your trio. We are getting close to the end, and we are going to need a monster breakdown and a leaderboard check from Zeke, Shao, and Reese. Analyst S, what you got for us?
Ok, mi sono smutato, raga. Sono sempre stato qui. Sono sempre stato qui a guardarmi i video e io vi ho lasciato vedere tanto di Cnfs. Ve l'ho lasciata. Ok, no, devi salire lì, sali qui, sali, sì, ce l'ho fatta. Adesso faccio così. Andiamo a Palma che mi spamma. Privato.
Based on what we're seeing over and over. This game, 21st place, they had 6 elims, so they made it work. And
Ma se io faccio così, poi faccio così, wow, figo, figo. Il primo è sempre Mongrel. Però è finita la coppa.
They jumped up the leaderboard to 4.
È finita.
Only 3 points away from Kinzel, Wolfie, CRR in third. So they're almost jumping up again into third
Ma
place.
perché non entra?
And on your kind of whiteboard, it says height. It's for me just shock. And for these guys, the word is hunger. They want to get that top spot. They're climbing from the depths, the pits of these leaderboards. Right behind them, too. Look now. And Decipto's Tutte in 7th place. They were in the top 15 before. Benji Savage actually have to fall because move up. Floki coming to Nakos is still here though in 8th, trying to survive with all this chaos and pandemonium going on in the new year.
Usually we talk about the 6th to 10th page. We're like, hey, you know what? Some of these names are the same. They just seem kind of consistent.
Benjifish è decimo.
This is just, it's all over the place. It's like a huge pop-off things are moving left, right, and center. This is the kind of excitement we really want.
Benjifish è decimo.
Ridiculous to think the Mongol Reclamation are like slowly like climbing this mountain, and
Però
every
non mi
single
fa
big
entrare, ma per...
is grabbing onto their path and saying no,
Non è
not
vero,
yet.
allora
And
lui.
they close this gap. We only have 3 games left. With glitches like this, it can literally happen in the last game. Like it's crazy to think as well. They swap up their drop clock 2 games, and this is the result. These are the results we're seeing.
Ok, replay.
I know, Retail Row, we've looked at this. This has been absolute pandemonium.
Questo è
over Retail Row.
corso
There's 4
e
teams
c'è
landing here now. Just for a
Legends.
memory check, there was no one landing there since Flip announced
Questo
it.
è...
People saw it and they decided, hey,
Io
let's
adesso
go there.
ero andato a mangiare, quindi non so in questi più o meno 15 minuti cosa è successo. Adesso... Ok, stiamo vedendo Fracosti non che ne ha ucciso uno.
This team for Strokey, Kylie, and Bejeweled were not one of the teams who landed here originally. So he had 4 teams that landed here.
Mentre che potevo caricare, non c'ho gli sbatti io. No. No. Però credo che la vinca. Vieni nella mia, vieni nella mia. Sto entrando io. Ho visto pure un pezzetto dell'evento di coso di J Balvin che Benji Fish è forte, molto forte. Coso di J Balvin? Sì, ma tanto la vince Mongrel. Vince 5 milioni. What? Devo andare un attimo in bagno, dammi 5 minuti. Arrivo.
Luca. Vorrei andare a mangiare. Ciao. Luca? Luca? Luca?
Salve.
Ma sei ancora in live?
Sì. Allora.
Luca.
Le cose.
Comunque sono arrivato a livello 106. Sono arrivato a livello 116.
L'hanno finita. Ha vinto.
Mongo. Ha vinto il Mongo. Vabbè, la clan lo conosco come youtuber. Questo inizia da 7 giorni. Come sia? Il lotto. Bro. Bro. Possiamo vincere un piccone facendo un torneo a terzetti di questo youtuber che si chiama se tu lo conosci, la clan.
Sì, la clan.
A chi ha vinto alla fine?
Non so, non mi carica. CF. No?
Ma io so.
Ha vinto con 116 punti. Knefer. Ah no, nell'accumulativo non so che cosa sia. Ha vinto Acqua, Jobsu e Paddy. Mongral. Mongral non lo vedo. Mongral non lo
A me piace. A me piace però la skin di Dongino.
Io ce l'ho. Coppa Free Fortnite. Io l'ho giocata, dettagli torneo. Io ho giocato 4 partite, 10 punti totali.
Ma secondo te deve uscire anche lo shop da skin di Dongino?
No, non uscirà mai.
Non uscirà mai più.
Non credo. Ma vogliamo fare squad non riempire?
Dove questo squad?
Però è squadre normale senza fantasmi. Perché a me i fantasmi non mi piacciono.
Prima sembrava una cagata.
Sì, ma fanno cagare. Dai, facciamo 2 versus squad. Comunque io alle 11 già me ne devo andare, quindi gioco poco. Però fin quando i miei genitori... Perché i miei genitori non lo so. Vabbè, io stacco la live.